As most will know, Oda is a master of the foreshadow, placing little clues many times hundreds of chapters before the clues become relevant, long after we've forgotten about it. I have for several years now been suspicious of Nolan and Kalgra's flashback from Skypiea, and it is here that I first began to wonder. Is Oda hinting at the nature of devil fruits, and the tree that likely first spawned them? Get your tinfoil hats on, guys, let's find the meat. Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So let's start with some background. There's a detail I think often overlooked in Skypiea, a magic that has not been fully explained yet. The sound of the golden bell of Shandora, called the Light of Shandora. We talked about this in my recent video about the Nolan and Kalgra flashback, but Nolan was able to hear the bell when, according to even himself, he shouldn't have. In the middle of a storm, out at sea, he heard the sound of the bell calling out to him, and that sound guided him to Jaya. But the thing is, no one else on the crew was able to hear this sound. What exactly was so special about Nolan? Maybe the easy answer here is just simply that Nolan can hear better than everybody else. I mean, he's kind of superhuman to begin with, right? Hearing better than all the scrubs around him, not totally out of the question. But yet I feel Oda was purposeful here in his setup of the mystery. It would have been very easy for the sound of the bell to have reached everybody's ears. If Oda had wanted to do that, he easily could have done it, but that was not the case. And I think because of that, it suggests that there is more here to know. Something is being teased. I think that it's intuitive to believe that the Nolan and Kalgra flashback should have ended after the resolution of the main conflict of that flashback. That is to say that Nolan arrived and then stopped the Shandorans from performing a human sacrifice and taught them the medicine they needed to fight the deadly plague that was ravaging their island. You wouldn't figure that the short story would need much more than this, right? This is kind of a story unto itself, complete. In the process of all of this, they killed 2 gods, survived an earthquake, and saved the island. But there was actually 2 more chapters after this, all of which further explored the Golden Bell of Shandora. I feel like Oda was actually pretty thorough here. All this is pretty curious to me because of the Shandoran superstition of the bell's purpose. And it almost feels like this entire part of the flashback, these 2 chapters, exist almost purely as foreshadowing of greater One Piece concepts not yet explored. They didn't just ring the bell because they liked the sound. The bell's purpose was to call their ancestors' souls home. Explained in a bit more depth, this is what they said: the souls of our ancestors who have died on this island over the past centuries are said to dwell in our sacred white ancestor trees, guided there by the sound of the bell. Of course, you could believe this to just be superstition and not actually be occurring. And there's no way to actually confirm that this is actually the case. But I can't help but think of how Nolan found Jaya to begin with. This light extends a hand to us. Even though I shouldn't have been able to hear it through the storm, I heard the sound of the bell. One might wonder if the sound of the bell guided Nolan's soul to Jaya, just as it is supposedly doing for the souls of the Shandoran ancestors. Nolan didn't hear the bell, which is why the crew didn't hear it either. Maybe it's something more like he felt its sound pulling him. And my theory here, guys, and we'll get to the justifications for this later, is Nolan experienced this while the crew did not, because Nolan had access to Haki. So I do wonder if the legend is true. Can the sound of the bell call the souls of the deceased? And did these souls actually come to reside in the sacred trees of their ancestors? Interesting here, despite Nolan rejecting their god, and in many respects their way of life, he never once rejects this particular belief. Maybe Nolan believed it could be true, or that it was true. The power of the bell is real. I believe that there is a connection between sound and the soul or spirit in the world of One Piece. As an example, look no further than Brook of the Straw Hat Pirates. Of course, his devil fruit is the Yomi Yomi no Mi, a fruit with the power to allow his soul to return to his body after death. Essentially a second life. But further into the story, I think that you're beginning to see the connection between his soul powers and his music, which exists outside of the powers of his fruit, specifically. But I'm gonna be honest, guys, this really wouldn't be all that surprising. In many cultures, myths, and beliefs, there's a connection between music and the soul. Music is said to touch the soul or move the spirit. And it's likely from this that Oda was inspired for this particular combination of powers within Brook. I think that this power takes a very tangible form in One Piece. After Kuma sent Brook flying, just before the 2-year time skip, this was said. I don't know why, but when I hear your music for the first time, I suddenly felt like I was bursting with courage and the warrior's spirit. So I picked up a weapon and I fought for the first time in my life. Brook's music had an effect on this person's soul, and to a degree changed his nature, if only briefly. And as Brook thought to himself, I hope you are alright, Luffy. You must be in terrible pain right now. My heart aches for you, even though I don't have a heart. Let's sing together so I can soothe your soul. Again, hear Brook's music, soothing the soul. Music is an actual power which acts on the soul. I think that we like to think of One Piece supernatural powers as just basically devil fruit and haki. But throughout the story, there exists a number of powers yet to be fully explored and explained. Django's hypnosis, Cavendish's alter ego, Miss Golden Week's paint, cursed swords, Ashura, Sanji's flames. My point, music is an actual power in the world of One Piece, and it acts on the soul. Is it impossible for music or beautiful sounds, such as with the Golden Bell, to have the ability to call souls? I don't think so. It is not impossible. Perhaps another clue is how creatures in the world of One Piece react to music. Laboon, who followed the Rumbar pirates because he loved pink sake. Nola from Skypiea, who looked forward to the bell ringing every day. Maybe this music called both of their souls too. Almost as if Oda is saying that beautiful sounds transcend human nature. It applies to all. But we'll come back to this. I think that souls and spirits are the key, opening up the connections between most, if not all, of the many mysterious powers in One Piece. I said exactly what I mean. Understanding the nature of the spirit and soul in the world of One Piece will lead to an explanation for all of this world's supernatural powers. So let's begin with haki. Perhaps you can think of observation haki as the ability to perceive others' souls. You can also use your spirit as armor or as a weapon, as in the technique of armament haki. And you can dominate others' wills or their spirits with the raw pressure of your soul, or conqueror's haki. There's no way, I think, to definitively argue this, but it seems like something that is pretty, self-evident or easy to argue, particularly when you imagine observation and armament haki. Haki translates as willpower, or the power of your will, which is often synonymous with spirit or the soul. So then hypothetically, willpower could be translated as soul power, spirit power. So yeah, I do think that your willpower or your haki relates directly to your soul. And in the case of something like Usopp using observation haki in Dressrosa, where he could perceive Sugar as simply a silhouette, which could be the silhouette of her very soul. I think it's very easy to envision the soul sort of coming to life and being perceived and used directly. And this also sort of relates back to my original point about Nolan, about him having haki powers could possibly give him the ability to sense the bell in Shandora where his crew did not. Because the bell speaks to the soul, and Nolan has at least somewhat attuned, has gained some awareness of his own soul. But as you go further down the rabbit hole, this hypothetical power potentially takes on even greater significance. We already talked about the connection of music and the soul when Brook defeated Big Mom's homies. His ability manifests in a very similar way to Conqueror's haki. Brook, aided by his music and the weak connection between the body and souls of the homies, he crushed their spirits. Perhaps Brook can actually use a lesser form of Conqueror's haki, or at least a power that works in a very similar way. Another example is Sanji's cooking his 99 new kama recipes, all of which, he says, in some way strengthen the person who eats them. It's soul food. Sanji's recipes strengthen and augment the spirit, resulting in tangible power-ups. Which is honestly not that controversial because this relates to, wives' tales or holistic or natural types of self-strengthening. Beliefs within cultures that you eat right, you feel right. Or you have something like cursed swords, swords which seem to have a will of their own. Zoro actually personifies them, like they are alive. We learn from Whole Cake Island that souls are life itself. Big Mom has the Soru Soru no Mi, or the soul fruit, which she can use to steal others' lifespans. So she steals soul, which is in fact life, and then gives that life to inanimate objects. Do cursed swords have some form of life, or some form of soul? Is that why Zoro gives them some kind of personality? But this concept does not just apply to swords. I believe that all things that are deeply respected and loved in the world of One Piece can be given some kind of tangible life, or some physical manifestation of the life that is already there. This is precisely what happened to the Going Merry. It actually came alive, taking the form of a Klabautermann, which is described as the incarnation of the ship's soul. So the ship already had a soul, and this was its physical form that could interact on the physical world. Swords that cut when not instructed, that don't follow commands, and ships that fix and sail themselves under the right conditions. I think that something interesting happens in regards to objects that are deeply connected to the people that have or use them. We're going to come back to this in a theory video soon, and you're going to like it. Or we can talk about Sanji's flames. Obviously, a lot of people believe this to be related to the power of friction, but Oda himself teased in an SBS the possibility, and of course Oda is known to joke, but also his jokes could also be some form of hint or foreshadowing. But Oda teased in an SBS the possibility that this is a power related to Sanji's burning heart, or maybe you could interpret as his burning spirit. His power comes from the soul and is triggered by love. So when Sanji literally catches fire when someone like Nami is in danger, that's a power of his soul. In this particular case, we're speculating that Oda is using the word heart to represent soul or spirit, and this is something that I think he does in other parts of the story as well, including Law's power of the personality transplant surgery, which we see physically as him switching people's hearts. So personality is connected to the heart. And simultaneously, we see through Big Mom how personality might also relate to the soul and life itself. Because Big Mom steals souls, gives them to homies, and they have personality. Likely the very same personality as the ones originally holding the soul. Evidenced by Big Mom's own homies, Zeus, who seems to be child version of Big Mom, maybe trapped in time. So to Oda and in One Piece, the heart might be synonymous with the soul. Speaking of powers similar to this, we have Brook's ice powers. He himself described this attack as the energy of his soul, bringing with it the chill of the underworld. This is almost as direct as it can get, the energy of his very soul. Soul powers. This is a power not actually explained by his devil fruit alone. Brook is the Soul King who survived after death. Perhaps his devil fruit has given him the opportunity to train his soul in a way that you usually wouldn't, or that his death itself provided Brook the tools to acquire powers most normally wouldn't. But we're going to come back to this and it's going to be cool. So his ice powers are actually soul powers. Related to this as well, a lot of people wonder, how could Luffy create the attack Red Hawk, in which his arm starts burning and burns even while submerged in water? Perhaps all of these powers, Sanji, Brook, and Luffy here, are related. Somehow their very souls have been weaponized in elemental ways. Or as Brook suggests, it is simply the energy of their souls. Or Miss Golden Week's colors, which is not a devil fruit ability, which can actually change a person's personality, which we have already previously connected to the soul. Maybe Golden Week uses colors to influence or confuse the soul, which would again be just another thing related to real-life beliefs that Oda has taken inspiration from. I could go on for a while longer on very niche topics, and even some bigger ones, but I think at this point you get the picture. The spirit, or soul, could be related to everything. So let's set the scene for a moment, because I think that doing so is important. Zoro is fighting Mr. One, the man made of steel who has never been cut by a swordsman. Mr. One pushes Zoro to the very brink of death. It's almost implied actually that he died, or was as close as you can be. There was a moment Zoro talked about standing at the gates of hell, And it was there that he could sense the life within all things around him, things even that should not have life. And remember guys, life equals soul. The falling rocks, I could feel something alive in them, not just a presence, something more distinct like breathing, the rocks breathing, trees with heartbeats of their own, the earth itself breathing. We've actually touched on this already before with cursed swords and the going merry. We're not just saying that these things, these objects were given life, but that they always had it. I find it interesting that Brook, who has soul powers that likely relate to and interact at the level of the soul, has essentially died, like he did actually die, and perhaps to some degree navigates almost between the world of the living and the dead. And here we seem to see Zoro do something similar. At the border between life and death, an unseen reality appears before him, another realm of existence in which all things around him have a kind of life or breath. But these things always had these properties. It was only at this point that Zoro was first able to sense it. And then from this place, Zoro appears to discover we didn't know at the time, but we call now Haki, observation Haki, as he senses where the rocks would fall. Does this further connect Haki, the soul, and the afterworld? Could it be true that Zoro attuned to Haki, or powers of the soul, through his near-death experience? Could this apply to other characters? We talk about Sanji and Luffy perhaps having soul powers, such as the ability to create fire. Did they unlock these abilities through similar near-death experiences? Through them now being able to call forth the energy of their souls, under the right circumstances. And in the future, could Zoro obtain powers of a similar nature as them, if he hasn't already? And he also discovers in this scene what it means to cut nothing at all, and simultaneously the ability to cut anything, even steel. I feel this could be described as something like Zoro attuning with his own sword, or that relationship being strengthened. The sword also having some life or breath as well, and this near-death experience training bringing forth the ability to influence or control its will or Haki or its soul. Control it to cut and not cut at command by deepening that relationship at an even more fundamental level. But what is most important to learn is this breath or life exists within all things, the trees, the grass, the rocks, everything. And I believe that that is important. These things aren't given life under niche circumstances, it's always been there. Everything in this world has a soul, so not just humans. I and many others believe there exists somewhere in the world of One Piece a tree which produces or produced devil fruits. But one of the biggest questions in the entire story is how. I think that it's worth pointing out here, guys, is that there is a connection between devil fruits and souls, at least on the surface, because Oda has drawn the devil fruit cycle of the devil fruit going between the person who has eaten the fruit to the air and then back to the fruit where it's eaten, and it appears to be a soul, at least in the way that it is drawn, or spirit. And it's even explicitly explained, although we cannot take this 100% fact, that within a devil fruit is the soul of the devil. So again here we have just another reason to believe that souls may be the answer to literally every supernatural power in the world of One Piece, including devil fruits as well, or their souls related somehow. We know of artificial devil fruits, or smile, that Caesar Clown created, and the nature of these I find to be really interesting and possibly informative. Smile do not come in Paramecia or Logia or Mythical Zone varieties. Why is that? Why has Caesar been able to produce fruit, but only of a certain type? Well, and I guess this would be the question, how exactly do you capture the soul of rubber? Or the soul of something totally intangible, like Baby Five's man-made weapon, fruit, or Foxy's slow beam. These aren't things that even exist in the world, like rocks and trees and dirt and grass. They're like ideas. This seems fairly apparent, but to me, it would seem like artificially producing these kinds of devil fruits would be the hardest, because how do you even know where to begin? Instead, what we see is Smile are all zone, and often they are animals I believe you would commonly find in the world of One Piece. So why is it that Caesar can create devil fruits or smile fruits based on things that are almost readily accessible in the world around him. So my theory here, guys, is are smile fruits created using the souls of deceased animals procured by Caesar? Could this be the secret ingredient of the chemical SAD, chemical worth noting colored green when the manga is colored, the very same color as souls in One Piece? Again, guys, just so that I'm sure that you've kept up, remember, souls are the same as life, is the same as personality. We've argued all that earlier in the video, and those who consume smile fruits are not just changed. They almost share the same body with another living organism. And this is most apparent in the cases in which the smile fruit has changed the body in a way in which the animal retains its brain and its head. Then it's like, your body isn't even changed, man. You have a conjoined animal twin. So it makes sense from this angle for essentially their bodies to be two souls smashed together very haphazardly. They then pump this soul juice, or whatever you want to call it, into the water of streams within the forest of the Smile Factory in Dressrosa, or they did before it was destroyed. The trees somehow take it in, and they produce fruit with the presence of these animal souls. This is just something that makes a lot of sense to me. A thing worthy of note is I said that there are no mythical zone smile fruits, and that's technically true, but in Punk Hazard, Vegapunk's fruit, not Caesar's, so not Smile, but Vegapunk's fruit that Momonosuke ate, seems to be a mythical zone. It was a dragon devil fruit, giving Momonosuke unique powers that we normally associate with magical zones or mythical zones. And just as we speculate here with Caesar, Vegapunk did have dragons at his disposal there in Punk Hazard to possibly extract its soul in whatever way that would occur, be possible, or they've discovered. But it's through this that we can further justify the idea that both of these artificial fruits are created by taking real animal life, and life is souls. And probably DNA or lineage factors from the story of One Piece, but we really won't go there because it's not important, but just know that. But smile fruit are not real devil fruits. There is obviously something missing here, such as whatever it would take to make Paramecia or Logia devil fruits, which neither Vegapunk nor Caesar seem to have figured out. But I believe, just like the Breath of All Things reveals, maybe these things have a soul too. Hear me out. The soul of fire, the soul of rubber, the soul of all things that can be defined in this world, that can exist or be understood. And somehow, the real devil fruit tree, which produces real devil fruits, it can absorb these souls, which exist within the world of One Piece, everywhere simultaneously. And it can do so in a much more complete and refined way. So what are we missing? How do you call souls to a tree? We've actually already seen this in the world of One Piece during Mont Blanc Nolan's flashback. The special white trees which house the souls of their ancestors, called down by the sound of the Great Bell, the light of Shandora. Is there a connection here? Is it music, or the sound of something like a great bell, which allows for the creation of a real devil fruit tree, a sound so powerful and beautiful, the souls of all things gravitate towards it. Or perhaps you could say in a different way, the souls are moved by it, and become somehow consumed by the trees and life around it. Guys, I think so. And making this connection leads you to perhaps the greatest question of all. Why is a Shandorian tradition the same or similar to the process of making a devil fruit? What is the connection here? And further, was it possible for a devil fruit to spawn in Jaya? An old theory of mine discussed the possible inspiration the first Dragon Ball Z movie, The Tree of Might, had on One Piece, and how it might relate to the devil fruit tree in One Piece. The seed of the Tree of Might, when planted on a planet, produced fruit which granted the one who ate it immense power, at the cost of all life on that planet. To create the Tree of Power, life had to be taken. And here in Jaya, the bell calls the souls of the deceased to this forest, and perhaps the souls of other things as well, perhaps relating to the process of creating devil fruit. And it so happens a time later, a great plague infests the land, a plague which would leave the island completely desolate of all life, creatures and plants alike. A tree of power which produces a fruit, but can only do so by taking life. Is the plague tree rush related to creating devil fruits? Does the tree of the devil eventually destroy all life from around it? Are we seeing this exact process in Jaya? An assumption I think that we all make that is not necessarily true. There's only one tree of the devil, right? And we speculate it grows in Revujo somewhere. But what if that is not the case? What if devil fruit trees can grow anywhere that there is death and a sound capable of calling the souls of nature itself to it? Was the sacred ancestor forest soon to become a devil fruit tree or a devil fruit forest? And have trees like this spawned all over the world at various times, often leaving the islands completely barren of life until those trees also died? Or are the only things left? It makes you wonder about islands like Baltigo, the home of the Revolutionary Army. We see it to be completely barren of life, white in color. Did a devil fruit tree spawn here in the past? It's worth noting that the ancestor forest and Baltigo both share the same color, white. Is that a coincidence? Or we can talk about Fleavance, the home of Trafalgar Law, also known as the White City, nearly destroyed by disease. And speaking of devil fruit trees in Revujo, when we first meet Sama, he's in a forest where we can see trees, and it appears as though they could also be white. Covered in moss, but underneath white. And Nolan tells us that tree rush was a plague fought worldwide. Were these other instances in which a tree of the devil tried to grow? Is tree rush the sign that a devil fruit tree is trying to grow, or is it just a naturally occurring plague? Or do they only need any kind of death and any beautiful sound? The conspiracy theorist in me wants to ask, is someone out there purposefully trying to make them grow, unbeknownst to the inhabitants of these islands? If the trees say need to collect souls to grow fruit eventually, or it needs to take life, would this be a reason for someone to instigate war or atrocities? To facilitate growth, there must be death. And if you want to increase growth, you kill more. And did things like the bell and the lore of it spread because someone wished to create more devil fruits? Where exactly did the Shandoran tradition originate? Knowing that might teach a lot. Did they learn from the ancient kingdom or somewhere else? And if these are the same trees in Revujo, does Sama intend to one day, if not soon, use these to take life from Revujo? A plot maybe to get rid of these celestial dragons and their slaves at the same time. That's some food for thought. But yeah guys, that's the theory. That is what I wanted to discuss. In conclusion, souls are very important in One Piece and connect just about everything. All things in this world have souls or life, including ideas themselves. The Devil Fruit Tree can do what Caesar and Vegapunk can't, by using sound or music to call the souls of nature itself into trees, so that over time, in combination with death, these trees produce devil fruit. Yeah guys, as always, I'm curious as to what you guys think. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always guys, have a wonderful day.